Okay.
When did you, because obviously we turned 18, we're adults. Yeah. When did you feel like you became an adult?
Still waiting.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Okay. It's half and half.
When do you feel like that you felt that you were comfortable in like who you were as a person and as an adult and like a function?
I would say 26.
I'm still uncomfortable.
26.
Still uncomfortable?
I'm still uncomfortable with some things.
Because one thing there was this feeling that I always struggled to shake, and I don't know where this comes from. But you know when you like, let's say, and maybe this is because I went straight into YouTubing after finishing university.
Mm-hmm.
But you know when you turn up to a place and because we're like YouTubers and stuff, and I don't know what it is, but like you feel that like everyone is like doing their job, and you feel like you are like fake at being there, being like present. Like you feel that everyone knows their role, and you feel like you're faking that you're involved in this.
Every time I get invited to like a company outing or like a fancy dinner party and shit, I'm just like, I am a child. Like, I should not. I make YouTube videos. I should not be here. Even though all the adults around you are just like, yeah, he's got a job. He's making money. He's got his own business. He's an entrepreneur. But like in your mind, you're just like, no, I'm not. I'm just a fucking kid making dumb videos on the internet and somehow making a living off of it. Like I don't feel like all of you actual professional adults. Yeah, whatever that means.
I think one of the biggest realizations I had when I was like fully an adult was, growing up, I thought the one thing that would happen when I went into the working world was I'd realized that people would suddenly become competent. And then I soon realized that no matter which industry, no matter where you are, there will always be incompetent people, and there will especially somehow be incompetent people in high positions of high power. Yeah, like no matter what. And I just had this image that I was like in fucking university. I'm just like dealing with these university kids. I'd just be like, everyone here is a fucking idiot. When I get into the working world, people will suddenly start to make sense. The world's gonna make sense. People will do their jobs. And then I went into the working world, and people still didn't do their fucking jobs.
And you were like, damn, adults are dumb. Adults are fucking dumbasses sometimes,
and I'm just
bro.
like, is this what being an adult is like? Just realizing that the world is actually incompetent and everyone's coping with the fact
like,
that...
damn, bitch, you live like this? Holy fuck.
I'm like,
how are you adulting?
How the fuck do these companies function? And then somehow these companies do function, but you go into the companies at like a... either an entry level, or you see how the company functions internally, and you're like, how is this? How does the world turn? I don't understand when there are this many incompetent people in the world. Maybe this is just a me thing.
It's people like that make me realize, like, oh, you can be a dumbass adult and still survive.
Yeah. Well, I think because you remember that one guy who fucked everything up more than the 10 guys who did their job.
Yeah,
exactly.
Is it here already?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like I thought that one guy who does nothing in a group project was like a school thing. You know, I thought that one guy who just sits around and does nothing and takes all the credit for the group project was a school thing. And then I realized that this is just a world thing.
That's called a CEO. It's people like that who end up in high positions of power. It's like, yes, I am present.
You just hope, right? You hope that those people don't get rewarded for that, and that the people who work hard do. And that's kind of the trust you have in the system. Is that people who work hard, you just hope they'll be recognized.
And you know, like, and it's interesting, right? Because it's like that one kid in every school project that, as you were saying, like fucking just shows up but takes all the credit. Yeah, you know, some of those people just never grow out of it, and they're just like, oh, I mean, it worked in school. It probably works as an adult. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah.
And then there are some people I feel who are in that position during school, and they're just like, wait, this works in a school environment. But if I did that shit in the real world, I'm getting sacked, dog. Like I'll be out of a job.
Well, if you're not in Japan.
If you're not in Japan, they're just like, we've gamed the system.
Yeah.
Just show up and don't do anything, and you can't get fired.
Yeah.
Sounds all right.
I mean, like, okay, I don't know if this is a loaded question, but do you guys feel like adults?
I already asked that.
Okay.
I literally asked you that.
You asked when. You asked when if you do.
See, okay, what is your okay, in that case, what is your shut the fuck up.
I just love that I just said that. You guys are different, but it just sounded the same.
Apologies.
Okay.
No, we're fucking idiots.
So to reiterate on that question though, what would you say is the defining feature of what you consider an adult?
I think
Like, what is the difference between an adult and a still a fucking like young guy?
I think that being an adult means feeling like you have a place in the world and you have a purpose, and that you're serving a goal, whether it's yourself or working in a company, and you feel that you're in something that is right for you, and you're benefiting yourself or whatever it is. Like, I feel like it's a purpose.
That ain't an adult, dog.
I think that's what it is.
That is not an adult.
No, I think that's like when to yourself it feels that way.
Right.
I think society is the term adult. 18. But I think the moment you internalize, like, when you feel that like you yourself have like not figured it out, but like you feel that, okay, I'm starting to get a grasp on this life thing. Yeah. Is when you're like, the pieces start to fall in place.
Right.
Yeah. Because like, I think what you just.
Is it the Kokoichi?
Okay, we'll do that later. I feel like what you just described is pretty much like almost like the opposite for me. Because when I feel like an adult, when I first started to feel like an adult is when I first started to feel like lost. And I kind of realized, holy shit, everyone my age feels lost. Because when you think that you found, like, as an adult, you're striving to find that place where you kind of feel like you know your place in the world, you're bringing something useful. I know so many fucking people, let's say, like...
I think most people don't feel that.
Yeah, most people don't feel that way.
20s,
most people like that I've met in like their mid to early 20s to like sometimes late 30s, early 40s, they feel fucking lost, and they're like, I do not know what I am contributing. Yeah, and I do not know where my place in life is.
And you think that feeling of being lost equates to being an adult?
I feel that's the shared experience of that loss, being lost, isn't it?
Yeah, I feel like because when you are a teenager, you think that you're just gonna suddenly figure it out. And I remember getting my first acceptance letter for like my first real job, which you all know what it is. I thought, fuck, this
BBC?
is yeah. I thought to myself,
mentioned.
I thought to myself, fuck, this is it. I am finally an adult. I've made it, man. I've got my first job, actually gonna have disposable income, gonna get a paycheck. Worked there for a year and I felt more lost than when I started. And I feel like that experience is probably not going to be an alien experience to a lot of people. And then when I started feeling more comfortable was when I talked to people and I was like, oh, this isn't a me thing. This is an everyone thing. We're all feeling the same way. We all have no fucking clue what we're doing.
But then, like, I would argue, you know, you said that, like, during, you know, like, high school or whatever, there's a lot of people who are just like, yeah, I have, like, a set plan. I'm going to figure that shit out. But I don't know. Me, personally, I felt lost as fuck during high school. Because I was just kind of like, I understood that in this school environment.
I think that's the norm, though.
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? It's like, so it's interesting you say that the feeling of being lost made you feel like an adult. Because I feel like when I was lost, it made me feel like I was still a child because I was still trying to figure out my place in society. And then it's when I finally figured out what I wanted to do, which was this whole YouTube creative thing. That's when I started to be like, okay, this isn't like games. This is just games and play anymore. Like this is like a serious occupation. This is a serious job for me now.
Yeah.
And like, even though I still, you know, treat that whole business and occupation as, you know, with a lot of fun and, you know, casual, you know, way, I also understand at the back of my mind, I'm like, if I fuck this up, then it's not just a matter of like, oh, well, no, I've lost a hobby or I've lost a thing that I like. I have lost a job. Like I am, you know, and that creates serious consequences in my life. So I feel like, for me, it was the opposite.
Being an adult is consequences.
I think, because in high school, if you fucked up, you had people around you there to support you, right? Yeah. Whether it'll, you know, and you know, obviously not every high school kid has this.
That's interesting.
But, you know,
we all have three different interpretations.
Yeah. I mean, because I feel like
I think they all have valid reasonings as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think they just come from our own subjective life experience because I feel like we are all in very lucky positions now in that we do have a job which we find fulfilling. You know, that is a fucking rarity, and that is a goal that everyone strives to get. And I feel so fucking blessed every day I wake up, and I know that I'm doing something that I find fulfilling, because doing like 3-4 years of an unfulfilling job working for a company, that's soul sucking, and people have done that for far longer than I had to experience. So, you know, it's something I think we have to acknowledge that I feel like we've found our purpose in life.
Absolutely, yeah.
A lot earlier than some other people may have found.
Yet, isn't it interesting that even though we, as far as what we've talked about, the definition of being an adult.
Yeah.
By definition, since we have found a job that is an actual legitimate job and we find satisfaction and we feel fulfilled in, which is what we have kind of lightly defined as being an adult.
Yeah.
Yet, if you ask any traditional media about YouTubers, they'll be like, "Oh, these fucking kids just fucking around, having fun, all that kind of stuff." And it's like it's interesting, like this disparity of like having a stable job, I guess, or like a real world job that's not like content creation on YouTube is considered like the adult choice, and yet I'm sure there's a lot of people in those like job fields who maybe don't feel that way themselves.
Yeah, I mean, like I feel like times change a lot, and you just got to adapt with the times. I mean, like fucking 40 years ago, you looked like a degenerate child if you're still living with your parents at the age of like 30 or 28, and now the reality of the world is that the housing and rent prices are so fucking high that
give me money and I'll get the fuck out.
That there are a lot of people who still live with their parents, not because they are a deadbeat degenerate, just because it's a wise financial choice, and they still have a job that they commute to from like with their parents, and it's just like a smart thing to do nowadays, 100%. And it's just like the way the world is. But like so
you're an adult when you feel like an adult, I feel, at the end of the day.
Yeah, but I guess what I was trying to get is like, how do you, like, what is the turning point, or what is the series of thoughts or emotions that make you feel that way? Because obviously, of course, you feel like an adult when you're an adult, whatever. Yeah. But like, what is that?
Okay, at least for me personally, it's the feeling of every action I take from here on out, every choice I make from here on out have real life consequences, whether that be good or bad.
I think the term you're looking for is responsibility.
Yes. That's it. I am responsible for everything I do, everything I say, who I interact with, how I interact with everything in my world is now directly going to come back to me. There's no parent buffer. There's no teacher buffer. There's no anyone in between to like hold your hand or smooth it out.
I always wanted that though as a kid.
Yeah.
I hated the fact that I was tied to like my, not in a bad way, but like everything was directly tied to my parents in some way. I always wanted to have independence. And
I think that's why a lot of high school kids, have that feeling of like, I want to be an adult.
Yeah.
But okay.
One of the independence, so I'm American.
Okay. Do you ever like, like as a kid, the kind of like stereotype is there are kids who grow up way too fast and they miss like their, let's say, childhood or things that you can only experience as a kid. Do you feel like there are parts of your childhood that you do miss, or as a kid were you just like, I just want to be an adult as fast as possible, and it's kind of like, let's say, met the hype of everything that you thought being an adult was as a kid?
I mean, I think there's a lot of...
Well, again, we have to bear in mind that I think it's different, right? Because I think that, again, like you said, we're successful in what we do. And so obviously being successful at whatever age, or, having money at 23 is obviously like great, whatever. I'm like, that's awesome. That's so much better than being 23 and having to work 2 jobs just to pay rent.
Yeah.
Like, that's like, and I think that's not on the person from their childhood. I think that's just purely of like, were you dealt a good hand in life? Were you fucked? Did you make any big mistakes that came back to haunt you? Like, I think there's a bunch of reasons. So it's hard to like be like, I think it's impossible to be like predetermined if you were going to be someone who like thought that your childhood was better. Like, I think it's something that just happens. Fuck up happens. Like, what if you were, you had a really good childhood, but you were you couldn't wait to be an adult. You matured and whatever, and maybe you got in like a bad car crash, and then maybe you lost. Maybe you're blind, or maybe like something bad happened to you, or maybe a loved one died. And it's like, okay, well, that would completely change how you view all of this stuff following. And you would obviously look back at your childhood in a lot more like kind of what's the word? Nostalgia.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh, everything was fun and safe and great back then, and I could play video games and drink Ribena, and it was fun. Like,
I guess we can only really talk about our personal.
Yeah, I mean,
however,
we can only talk about our personal experiences. Yeah.
However, I do think that if I had to go back, I'd probably still enjoy being a kid because all I did was play video games, and that's kind of what I want to do now.
Okay, question. What age, if you could go back in time to your childhood, right, for let's say a week to experience it again, how old would you be?
Dude, being like 15, 16 was like the best age. I loved that. Because I felt old enough to enjoy shit and be mature about it.
Yeah.
I hated the exams, obviously.
Yeah.
But I felt like I was mature enough, but I could still spend all day playing video games.
I would go back to like 12.
12? Why 12?
I think 12. Okay.
Because like 12 is like kind of that point where you're like, you know, transitioning from primary school or elementary school to high school, at least in Australia, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like just you're taken a little bit more seriously than while you're in elementary school, but you still have all of the benefits of being fresh out of elementary school, right? You can do like more like kind of childlike activities and like be okay with it. You know, you can basically indulge in all your hobbies, whether they're like more mature or less mature for your age, right? Like, you know, I could do all of like the more immature, I guess, like high school hobbies at the same time. But if I wanted to fucking stay at home and, you know, watch anime for 15 hours while, you know, sucking on my thumb, then I can also do that too. Like it's fine. Like you're
like, take me back to when I liked anime.
Yeah, take me back. Take me back to the time where I could watch anything and I'd probably enjoy it.
Honestly, Joey's same.
As a jaded old man now, I can't do that anymore.
Take me back to when I discovered One Piece and I fucking marathon that shit in a week.
I think as an adult, you just miss being able to not feel bad about spending 1 week doing fucking nothing.
Yeah.
And now,
because that was your whole life.
Yeah. So the next time we had to do that is when we retire.
Yeah.
And we're like 50 or 60 years old, an old man.
But we don't have as much energy as we did back then. So you're kind of limited to what you can do.
I watch a lot of TV and stuff.
Yeah, you can do that.
Yeah.
But
I mean, like, to me, I think I can just boil it down to like a sentence, which is like, when was the last Christmas I was actually excited about? You know, you know what I mean? Like, when was the last time you went to bed on Christmas Eve and you're like, oh,
when I got that Nintendo Wii, that was a game changing. Christmas.
Yeah. And to me, it was like, I think it was around like 12, 13 years old. That was like the last point where I'm like, oh, I can actually get presents.
It was when holidays actually like meant something,
right?
You know,
right.
Like, it wasn't just like I'm doing stuff with my family and friends. It was like a fucking event.
It was nice. Exactly. It was nice when you had to. Christmas Day, you're like, damn, I gotta play Crash Bandicoot, Spyro, and this newer game. I don't know which one to do first. Oh man,
it was just the excitement of just being like, this is just gonna be a banger day, no matter what.
The next week, I am in heaven.
I'm gonna play new video games that I can only get this many video games at once on this day. I'm gonna eat some banger food, and it's just gonna be a good day. And that to me is kind of like the pure happiness that I will never experience again as an adult, because it's great.
It's a different kind of happiness.
It's a different kind of happiness, which, you know, I'm very happy being an adult, but you know, there is a certain type of happiness you feel as a kid that I would love to experience again, just once, just.
And I feel the only way to like realistically be able to experience that again is when you have your own kids, where you can kind of live vicariously through the enjoyment of watching your kids experience that exact same thing that you probably experienced as a kid as well. Hopefully,
until they become an anime fan.
And then the moment when my son or daughter comes up to me and they go, "What's One Piece?" and I'll be like, "Rest in peace." He's following his dad's path.